Welcome to the Careers by Jen podcast, episode 188. Today on the podcast, Jen speaks with Eddie Lorin about how to help people while saving for your retirement. For example, I recently bought 2 pairs of socks, one for my spare change and the other for the shelter.
You're listening to the Careers by Jen podcast with me, Jen Swanson, the podcast that helps you to get the job, love your work, and advance your career. It's one thing to save money, and it's another thing to help others while you are doing it. Can you do both? Maybe you aren't quite ready to save for retirement. Maybe you're feeling a little bit stressed about the thought of it, or maybe even a little panicked that you've started too late. Wherever you find yourself, have you thought about doing it in a way that can help others? Profit with purpose, as they say. What might that look like? Well, our guest, Eddie Lorin, is from impacthousing.com. Eddie's a realtor, a philanthropist, and the creator of impacthousing.com, and he's here to tell us about his work and how it's an idea and an option for those who have money to invest in a purposeful way to help other people, help the environment, and to help yourself at the same time. I'm going to start off by asking him to tell us what the biggest challenge is that he sees in people saving for retirement in the first place. We'll get to that right after this.
Are you procrastinating? Do you want to start a job search but aren't quite sure where to begin? Is it all just a little overwhelming? At Careers by Jen, we have a 5-day Jumpstart Your Job Search Challenge to help you get unstuck and move toward finding your dream job. Every day for 5 days, you'll receive an email to your inbox that asks you to complete one task. Every task you complete moves you closer toward your goal. The best part about this challenge is that it's absolutely free. Come over to CareersbyJenn.com and you'll see the 5-day Jumpstart Your Job Search Challenge on the right-hand side of the screen. Click on the image of Jen, sign up with your email address, and you'll be 5 days closer to reaching your goal. Why wait when you can get busy? Visit CareersbyJenn.com after this podcast.
So I'm here today with my guest, Eddie Lorin, and I'm going to start, Eddie, by asking you what the biggest challenge you see in people that you are dealing with around retirement savings. What's their biggest challenge?
Well, there's fear and greed. That's the problem. You gotta, like everything in life, there needs to be a balance. You often see people flip back and forth. They get greedy and they want to have it all right now and make sure their nest egg is safe. And then the other thing is, I don't want to make any investments. What if the world goes to an end? So I think that's probably the balance of anything in life is the challenge, because people have to use your common sense, which is not so common anymore, and make wise, rational, smart decisions the best you can.
And when are people doing this kind of thinking? Like at the beginning of their careers, in the middle? Are people panicking at the end? What do you notice?
All the above. I mean, ideally, you should be starting in your 20s, putting away, even if it's $10 a month, $20 a month, that will compound. If you look at, by the time you're 65, you will have a ton of dough by just putting a little bit, because the time benefits you if you put it to work properly. And even, especially that's why they have IRAs and special retirement accounts. The point is that you're not supposed to touch it. You'll get a penalty if you do touch it, and you'll leave it alone, and it'll ride through the ups and downs of, the cycles. But in the end, it's always worth more than it was when you started. And you got to keep adding a little bit every month or every year, because, that's income averaging. That's a way to make sure you keep things working.
Do you know a lot of people in their 20s that are thinking this way? Like, I'm just curious as to how big
Sorry, go ahead.
I just wondered how big of a priority is that?
Well, it's a huge priority, but like everything, these kids, they're millennials, they're coming out with a lot of debt. They can't imagine paying student debt and saving for retirement. So that's a very wise decision. You certainly want to get rid of your student debt if you have it. And, you shouldn't save if you have debt. But that's one of the biggest challenges. But, some of the more forward-thinking kids are interested, and they talk to me about these things. My kids are 20 and 19, and start to talk to them and their friends and nieces and nephews in their 30s. And, it's time. You got to put away some. And the government certainly incentivizes all of us to be setting money away pre-tax for retirement.
Right. And people are retiring later these days, at least where I am. I have been reading up on retirement age, and people might retire from one career but take up a different career. And people are working into their 70s these days, it sounds like.
That's right, because people are living longer, and it's getting more and more competitive out there to make ends meet. And housing's more expensive, which is why I'm in the housing business. I want to make sure that I can provide as much affordable housing that people are able to obtain, because our motto is you give people a clean, safe, affordable place to live. You treat them with respect and dignity. They stay, they pay, and they refer their friends. And so for us, creating a sense of community, oftentimes through health and through dignity, is a great way to make money in retirement and over time, as well as make a difference in the world. So that's the whole concept of impact investing.
How did you get into this? Like, how did you come to being part of this?
I've been in real estate for a long time, and I found that I had a real knack and a real desire and joy out of taking blight and making light, so to speak. So I'd like to take older, neglected properties and spruce them up and provide that wonderful sense of community, a great product that people want to be in. And like I said, they'll stay and pay and refer their friends. So to me, you buy properly and you enhance. Instead of building new, if you buy existing, you're going to pay about 40% of what it costs new. And if you can get an incremental increase in that level of rent, at the same time keeping it affordable, everybody wins.
And the person who's investing, how are they saving for their retirement this way? How does that work?
Well, let's say you put $10,000 in. The theory is you're going to get rents that produce anywhere from 5 to 10% annually on your return. Whereas if you bought a bond, you'd be only in the 2% range, 3% range. So you get ongoing revenue, and the appreciation of the property at the end is potentially you could take your 10,000 and make it 15 or 20, all the while collecting your rents along the way. That's why real estate's a fabulous investment.
What would you suggest for somebody who has put it off and hasn't really done a lot of investing? What would you suggest for that person? Like what kinds of things to start with? There's real estate. What other things are there?
Well, I think the first thing is to just save enough money that you have a sizable enough amount to make an investment. But first of all, I would say 5 to 10% of your income, if you were to just set it aside and put it in a separate account, have an automatic debit go into a separate investment account or even a savings account, so you don't touch it. It's an expense like anything else in your life, like your rent and all the other things. If that goes in and is just invested in the short term in mutual funds and potential index funds, some of the simpler things that you can get from your local banker. And then when you got a sizable amount, then you could think about real estate or potential equity investments or loan funds and all kinds of stuff. But you got to start. The hardest part is starting and getting enough that's significant to make a real investment.
Some people will say, I can't invest in anything. I can't even save. I've got debt, right? The consumer debt is huge these days.
That's true. Well, we gotta resolve that for sure. There's no doubt. You gotta get out of debt before you can save, because interest is going to probably cost you more than you're going to make on that investment. So get your house in order, clean up your debt, have some savings, and then start investing. So, it's one step at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You can't get overwhelmed because it just defeats the purpose.
You can't get overwhelmed. Yeah. It feels like some people are overwhelmed by it.
Yep. It's a problem. There's no doubt. But we all have to work together to really try to solve it. And we got to watch our expenses, and we got to try to make more income at the same time. And you got to save for the rainy day. And look, life's not easy, but we just got to keep on living.
When we come back, I'm going to ask you about what people receive from helping others when they're investing. So we'll be back in a moment.
Do you want someone to listen? Do you need help setting goals for yourself? Do you want someone to keep you accountable for your progress and to ask good questions that will help to move you toward your success? Have you got a resume that you want reviewed or updated? Do you need help deciding what kind of work you'd like to transition into? If any of these sound like you, I've got some coaching spaces open at CareersbyJenn, and I would be happy to work with you to achieve your goals. From a single session resume review to multi-session career or life coaching, there are several packages to choose from. Go to CareersbyJenn.com, click on online programs, and you will see the coaching packages on the courses page. Select your package and let's get started on your future today.
So we're back, and I'm talking to Eddie Lorin from impacthousing.com. And my question is, what do people get out of helping others when they're investing in some of the work that you do?
Well, there's something called an impact investment, and this next generation wants to not only invest wisely for a financial return, but also for a second and third bottom line, and that's a social and environmental return as well. So you can get a triple bottom line. You can help change the world with your dollars. And people like us specialize in investing in things that make a great return, yet change the world at the same time. So you can do well by doing good, so they say. And that's what is all about. You can invest in stocks or bonds, that are power plants and contributing to the carbon problems, or you can invest in affordable housing like we do and make a difference where people live. And that's how we choose to put our dollars forth. And we've provided incredible returns at the same time as changing people's lives.
Now, you say this next generation. Have you noticed a difference generationally in what people
Absolutely.
You have?
What's happening is the money is, there's going to be about $42 trillion that's shifting between the baby boomers and their children. And it hasn't happened yet. But we're finding that the younger generation does want to make a difference in the world with their investing. Yet the older generation is still in holding the reins. But as they fade off more into the sunset, we're seeing more and more of this generation come forward to make, profit with purpose. And it is changing, although it's changing slowly. It is moving. It is movement. The impact world was very small 10 years ago, and now it's exponentially growing, where that's driven by the next generation getting more control of their wealth.
I've noticed also a lot of businesses, online businesses, and that give back. And so if you purchase something from them, a portion of it goes to an organization, a charity, something like that. And that I've noticed that more and more recently than even 5 or 6 years ago. And so I wonder if that's part of it.
Sure. People are demanding, like these donor advised funds. It used to be the wealth advisors would only invest in stocks and bonds, and now they're being forced to learn about this category because they're what's called donor advised, or their client advised funds are saying, I want profit with a purpose. I want you to make investments and go find me investments that do deliver the double and triple bottom line that we were talking about. And it is changing, and it's being driven by the customer.
That's great. You mentioned impact. I don't know if you used the word movement, but is that something that is a category in investing or in, you said the word impact. I know it's part of your title for your work that you do, but is there more to it?
Well, absolutely. It's more than a category because every single investment can be done for good or done for bad, so to speak. So, yes, it's expanding category, but you can take it to every level of discipline. You can invest in stocks that are William Morris and cigarettes, and that's a negative, or you can invest in stocks that are bringing water to third world countries. The same stock, but the category of impact is more meaningful because it's pervasive across all disciplines. But yes, this concept of impact investing is a category that's growing where people have a movement to make a profit with a purpose, but it's not just like real estate or stocks or bonds or infrastructure. These are categories of investment. This is pervasive across all categories of investment to do the right thing and make a profit at the same time.
That's an added thing to think about for people who are saving for retirement is what can they do to grow their money? What can they do to save for their future? Because again, you said people are living longer, and you need more funds these days for retirement, depending on when you're going to stop working and where you live, etc. I live in a very, very expensive part of the world. It's ridiculous how expensive it is where we live. And it is almost impossible for people in their 20s to find even places to rent where we are. It's a very, very hot real estate market here. And we've got people that have to move out of the city to far-flung places because they're never going to be able to afford to buy a house or buy a condo or buy an apartment. So it's interesting, and I'm kind of wondering how people who are thinking about retirement are now thinking differently, as you say, about the impact, how they can grow the money, but also use it to do good in the world at the same time. And I wonder when that shift began to happen, rather than how can we provide for ourselves, but it's a more generous thought process.
Well, we all get humbled at some point. A lot of people got humbled in the crash of 09, 08, scared the crap out of people. So I think that was a paradigm shift. People are afraid to own a home still, but they're happy to rent, but they want to rent and be mobile and free and versatile and flexible. And so that's where the apartment business is a great business to be investing in. You invest in properties that are less expensive to buy, and you fix them up and give people that really nice place to live, and they pay. And those rents grow over time. And that's how the appreciation of the property comes from rents and from saving water and electricity, which is also part of our formula. You can raise the rents or you can lower expenses. The result is the same. The value is based on the net income, which is the income line minus your expenses. So if we can save water and by putting in low flow toilets, and if we can put in certain LED lights and opportunities to save wattage and some kinds of solar, et cetera, that's all goes to the financial bottom line, and it's also an environmental bottom line as well. So this is the kind of thing that you can think about. You can invest your dollars in Google stock, which is very good, or you can diversify and invest in making a difference in people's lives and make similar returns to that Google stock over time, because real estate has primarily been a very good wealth builder, and most of the greatest wealth in the world is in real estate. So you need some of your money in real estate for sure.
Is there a story that you have of seeing the result of people doing this kind of investing?
Well, I was hearing Prudential is the insurance company. I heard a very good story. They started in the 1800s, and they were insuring widows who were stuck, it had no job, and they came up with the concept of life insurance. That's the ultimate impact investment, to be able to provide for people if the breadwinner, God forbid, died. And so that's an idea of how impact investing has been around for almost a couple hundred years. But it really has changed the way people live and, the way people have grown. And it's just an awesome concept to be conscious of how you're investing and making a difference.
Where can people find you, Eddie, if they want to learn more about impact housing and the work that you do?
ImpactHousing.com. I got a very easy. You email me there, or everything's on the website. Our track record of how many we've done, almost 40,000 apartment renovations over the years, and we've changed a ton of people's lives, and we've had incredible financial returns as well as the social and environmental ones we've delivered as well. So www.impacthousing.com.
It sounds like this is sort of your life's work, helping others.
Yeah. Well, you can go get up every day and be greedy and, make money, or you could be fearful, take the other concept, or you can try to stay balanced and do well by doing good. And that's what gives me pleasure and joy.
Do you have a last piece of advice for the listener out there who's maybe wanting to make this kind of choice?
Well, it's what you make of things in life. You can't direct and control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. There's never a good time to do a bad deal or a bad time to do a good one. And to me, you can really do well by doing good, and you can change the world and still be prudent and use common sense.
Well, thanks for taking time to talk with Careers by Jenn today, and all the best in your future.
Back at you.
You've been listening to Careers by Jenn with Jen Swanson. If you like what you heard, please share this. If every single person listening today shared this episode with just one friend, our audience would be twice as big just like that. And the more people we can help with our content, the better. So help out a friend and help grow our audience by sharing this show with someone you know who would benefit from the content. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that, and together we can make a difference. Until next time, take good care.